The power of doing. Have you ever wondered why some ideas never get off the ground while others, built on simple, persistent actions, turn into real success? The power of doing takes you on a journey through the everyday steps that separate ordinary business from extraordinary results. In a world where many are held back by overthinking and fear of failure, this book shows you how to push past hesitation, transform setbacks into stepping stones, and turn routine actions into breakthroughs. Hi, I am Simon Blake, was trained for years privately to be a film actor. In addition, I studied over 8,000 acting classes, which is over 25,000 hours of class time. Being day by day, hour by hour, aside to the top names in the industry both inside and outside of classes. Let's learn together is Simon's slogan. Facing the challenge of business inertia firsthand, the book tackles the common problem of being paralyzed by perfectionism and uncertainty. It shares insightful, real-life stories of entrepreneurs, managers, and creative leaders who found that the secret to any lasting achievement isn't a single brilliant idea, but the habit of showing up, making consistent progress even in the face of setbacks, and building momentum over time. Inside, you'll discover innovative yet practical techniques to chart a clear path forward. Learn how to set small, measurable goals that accumulate into significant progress. Refine your approach through honest reflection, and build genuine relationships that open new doors. These strategies not only streamline your work and boost your confidence, but also transform challenges into valuable opportunities for growth. Written for business professionals, entrepreneurs, and anyone determined to break the cycle of inaction, The Power of Doing offers simple, actionable guidance that you can put into practice immediately. It is a call to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start propelling your ideas into reality through deliberate, everyday action. Take the first step toward a future defined by resilience and consistent achievement. Discover how the simple act of doing can transform your business and your life. Your journey to lasting success starts now. Chapter 1. The Essence of Doing. Chapter 2. Understanding the Power of Action. Chapter 3. Overcoming the Fear of Starting. Chapter 4. Embracing imperfection through action. Chapter 5. Doing in Life. Chapter 6. The Role of Action in Personal Development. Chapter 7. How Small Steps Lead to Big Changes. Chapter 8. Building Confidence Through Repeated Actions. Chapter 9. The Art of Doing and Acting. Chapter 10. Trusting Your Instincts on Stage. Chapter 11. Adjusting to Feedback and Results. Chapter 12. Transforming Mistakes into Opportunities. Chapter 13. Music. And The Power of Doing. Chapter 14. The Role of Practice and Repetition. Chapter 15. Creating Music Through Experimentation. Chapter 16. Trusting the Creative Process. Let's start this introduction. In a quiet corner of a Braze, small-town theater, I once witnessed a moment that perfectly encapsulated the idea behind this book. A young actor stood backstage, his eyes fixed on a spot of light that promised both challenge and change. He wasn't a master of his craft yet. His movements were hesitant, and his voice carried a trace of uncertainty. But with each breath he took, he began to understand that the act of stepping forward was far more significant than any perfect free performance ever could be. That evening, as he faced the unknown with nothing but genuine intent, I realized that action, in its rawest form, is a force that transforms dreams into reality. Have you ever wondered what separates those who achieve their goals from those who remain stuck in indecision? Often, it's not a mysterious spark of genius or luck. It's the willingness to simply do something, to take that first step, even when perfection seems out of reach. This book is a call to recognize the quiet strength found in every attempt, every stumble, and every subsequent recovery. It's a reflection on how the simplest acts of beginning can build the foundation for extraordinary progress in art, performance, music, and everyday life. Hey, visit emotionalpreparation.com. Hey, visit emotionalpreparation.com. It has hundreds of emotions. I remember speaking with a musician who, after years of feeling burdened by the expectation to deliver perfection, finally decided to let go of the overwhelming need to be flawless. One night, in an intimate setting with only a few friends for an audience, he allowed himself to play without fear, without looking at every missed note as evidence of his inadequacies. Instead, he focused solely on the experience of producing music, however imperfectly. That night, his performance was not defined by technical mastery, but by the passion and authenticity that only comes from taking action. His journey reinforced for me that every act of doing is a step toward realizing our potential, no matter how small it might seem in the moment. Throughout our lives, the notion of doing is often overshadowed by the lure of planning and contemplation. We spend countless hours constructing mental blueprints of our future, setting expectations so high that the gap between them and our current state appears insurmountable. Yet, at its core, progress begins not with grand plans, but with small actions, a conversation, a note played, a line spoken with sincerity. The power of doing lies in its simplicity. Each deliberate step, each unguarded attempt, shatters the illusion that success demands perfection. Instead, it builds trust in our own capacities and ignites a chain reaction that propels us toward our loftiest ambitions. Consider the creative power of starting with just one small idea. Picture a writer on a blank page, hesitant to commit thoughts out of fear of judgment. Now, imagine that same writer simply putting pen to paper, scribbling a few lines that might seem trivial at first. Over time, those lines evolve into paragraphs, then chapters, and eventually into a story that holds the potential to change lives. Similarly, in the worlds of acting and music, the willingness to begin is the spark that transforms potential into performance. Each mistake becomes an opportunity to learn a new nuance, every imperfect attempt a stepping stone toward greater mastery. This book invites you to shift your focus from the intimidating task of creating perfection to the liberating act of simply beginning. It is easy to fall into the trap of waiting for the right moment, waiting for inspiration to strike or for conditions to align perfectly. But if we pause to examine our own journeys, we recognize that every turning point was born from the willingness to try, to move forward even when the outcome was uncertain. The real measure of progress is built on a collection of small, resolute actions that, together, form a life of meaningful accomplishment. We all have experienced moments when the enormity of our ambitions causes us to freeze. I recall a time when I was faced with an important creative project and found myself paralyzed by the fear of not being good enough. It was then that I remembered the lessons learned from countless everyday actions. The understanding that every small step, taken without the pressure to be flawless, was a victory in itself. That realization allowed me to begin once more, and with each action, a sense of clarity replaced the initial confusion. This is the essence of what I hope to share with you. The idea that starting, no matter the immediate results, is a testament to one's resilience and commitment. There is a comfort in understanding that life is not a series of isolated moments of triumph or failure, but rather a continuous flow of actions and adjustments. Every time you choose to act, you set in motion a process that refines your abilities and deepens your understanding of what is possible. It is in this constant movement, this choice to begin even in the face of uncertainty, that you will find the strength to overcome obstacles, to adapt when circumstances change, and to grow beyond the limitations that once held you back. What makes this approach truly valuable is that it applies to every part of our lives. Whether you are gearing up for an important audition, preparing to play a long-awaited performance, or simply trying to tackle a challenging day-to-day task, the principle remains the same. The power of doing stems from the willingness to move forward in spite of the fear of failure. This is not a call to act recklessly, but rather an invitation to trust in the process that each action, however modest, brings insight and progress. There is a recurring notion that progress is often invisible until accumulated over time. Just like the steady drip of water that eventually carves a path through rock, each small act of starting contributes to a larger, transformative journey. The beauty of this process is that it accommodates failure as a natural part of growth. The act of doing is not measured by immediate perfection, but by the courageous effort to persist beyond setbacks. When you reflect on your own past, you'll likely find that the moments when you pushed beyond your hesitation were the stepping stones to your greatest achievements. Every endeavor worth pursuing carries with it the inherent risk of imperfection. Yet, it is in embracing this risk that we uncover the vast reservoir of untapped potential within ourselves. When we decide to act, we challenge our internal voice of doubt and gradually learn that failure is not an endpoint, but rather an essential part of the learning curve. The ability to adjust, refine, and try again is what ultimately distinguishes a life of genuine accomplishment. This cycle of action, reflection, and adjustment is the very foundation upon which both creative brilliance and personal growth are built. I invite you to examine your own life and recognize the extraordinary power hidden in every decision to take action. This book is a collection of stories, reflections, and insights designed to remind you that every small effort, each audition, every practice session, even the unnoticed moments in between, has the power to change your trajectory. The narrative you build is not one of passive waiting or endless planning, but of active engagement and relentless movement forward. In the pages that follow, you will discover practical wisdom drawn from experiences in acting, music, art, and everyday challenges. You will read about individuals who, by simply beginning, transformed their lives and unlocked opportunities that had once seemed impossible. Their stories serve as both a guide and and inspiration, encouraging you to trust in your capacity to make a difference through the process. Simple act of doing. As you journey through this book, let the moments of hesitation be reimagined as the starting blocks of growth. Let every misstep be seen not as a failure, but as a necessary lesson on your path to becoming more resilient and capable. And when you find yourself standing at the crossroads of doubt and determination, remember that each action you take, no matter how small, is a step toward a more filling and authentic life. This is not just a collection of motivational thoughts or abstract advice. It is a practical invitation to view your daily actions as meaningful contributions to the story of your life. It is a reminder that greatness is not reserved for the flawless, but is achieved through the determination to act. The narrative here is rooted in the everyday experiences of people who chose to move forward despite their fears, who learned that it is better to try and learn than to stand still in the shadow of regret. In the background of every dream lies the quiet but resolute act of simply starting. May this book remind you of that truth and inspire you to never hesitate when the opportunity to act arises. Your journey is composed of these moments of decision, these acts of doing that, when pieced together, form the true essence of who you are and who you are meant to become. Chapter 1, The Essence of Doing There, is a quiet truth that we often overlook, a truth that has the power to change the way we see ourselves and our work. A few years back, on a chilly evening in a small-town theater, I watched a young actor step onto the dimly lit stage. The spotlight was soft, almost gentle, and the audience waited in expectation. That night, something remarkable happened. The actor, with a humble sense of purpose, simply did what came naturally. Every slight movement, every falter of voice, every pause between words was not the mark of imperfection, but a sign of deep commitment. That single moment taught me that action, in its simplest form, hold a power that far surpasses the allure of endless planning or the paralysis of overthinking. This truth stretches far beyond the stage. Whether you pick up a paintbrush, strum a guitar, or even decide to take on a new task at work, the act of doing is what transforms ideas into life. The experience of doing something, of setting your plans in motion no matter how uncertain the keeper, outcome could be the very spark that ignites a chain of events leading to unexpected and satisfying achievements. There is a rough logic to this. The more you commit to a task, even a small one, the more your confidence grows. Small steps bring you into a rhythm, a pattern of motion that builds strength, clarity, and certainty over time. Some years ago, I recall a musician friend who felt completely overwhelmed by the pressure to produce a flawless performance. He spent countless hours rehearsing, obsessively preparing, yet felt that something was missing. One day, he decided to simply play without aiming for perfection, without thinking too hard about each note. In that moment of pure, unself-conscious doing, he found that not only did the music flow, but a newfound clarity and concentration emerged. The practice of simply acting, of taking one genuine step at a time, quietly changed the way he approached his craft and his life. His example shows us that doing can be a bridge between the artist within and the art before the world. The gentle cycle of action and rest has its own rhythm, one that many discover only after repeatedly taking that leap. Think of it like planting seeds in a garden. You prepare the soil, plant each seed with care, and then allow the natural process of growth to take hold. Sometimes stepping back and resting, even when it might seem like pause, is exactly what is needed to let the magic of the seed's potential come forward. The intervals of rest are not periods of idleness. They are powerful moments for reflection and rejuvenation. These quiet pauses after action help sharpen focus and open up fresh perspectives. As we think about doing, it is clear that this simple act is the unnoticed force that propels words as breakthroughs in many areas of life. Too often, we get caught up chasing perfection, ignoring the joy found simply in the act of moving forward. There's a lesson here that applies to art, to acting, to music, but also to everyday challenges. When one allows oneself to simply move forward, to take that fundamental step without the heavy weight of expectations, there exists a powerful space where creativity and genuine expression flourish. Hey, visit emotionalpreparation.com. It has hundreds of emotions. I have seen firsthand how this approach transforms lives. I met an individual who felt perpetually stuck, believing that fear and uncertainty would always dictate his path. Instead of waiting for the right moment, he began to take small, deliberate actions every day, writing a paragraph of his long-forgotten manuscript, picking up the phone to share his ideas with friends, and even trying new activities that excited him. Each of these steps might have seemed trivial on their own, but together they built a reservoir of confidence. His progress was a series of tiny actions that unraveled his self-doubt one moment at a time. An essential part of this process is the willingness to adjust when outcomes do not match expectations in the performing arts. The willingness to trust your actions on stage means accepting that feedback, whether from the audience, fellow artists, or even your own inner critic, might reshape your future performance. Life, too, offers occasional redirections. When an action does not lead to the desired outcome, there is wisdom in sensing its lessons and making modifications. Every action can serve as a learning point, a practical classroom where mistakes become opportunities for greater insight. This cycle of trying, learning, and adapting is a cornerstone of genuine growth. When you trust yourself enough to start, even if the result isn't perfect, you open the door to progress. Every small task completed is like a stepping stone that gradually magnetizes you toward more significant challenges. The benefits begin in the moment. The satisfaction of simply having taken action, the clarity that emerges when disorder is replaced by momentum, and ultimately the uplifting feeling of accomplishment that accompanies each completed step. There is a quiet confidence that builds in the core when you allow yourself to act. With every attempt, regardless of the outcome, you learn more about your capabilities. That growing confidence works like a fuel, igniting further steps and generating momentum in ways that can transform not just one moment, but entire chapters of your life. In acting, for example, the confidence to improvise on stage doesn't come from rehearsing the perfect line, but from trusting your natural instincts and being willing to make mistakes. Similarly, in music, raw emotion is often captured in the midst of spontaneous performance. Even in more everyday areas, the habit of taking action is a powerful tool for personal growth. Many of us have been in moments when the overwhelming magnitude of a challenge seemed paralyzing. Yet, when we allow ourselves to begin with a modest, manageable action, we often find that the challenge is not insurmountable after all. Each small success lays the groundwork for the next, slowly, but surely constructing a road of progress where doubt and hesitation once reigned unchecked. One could say that the path of doing builds its own steady rhythm, a pattern towards which repetitive actions eventually lead to becoming second nature. This rhythm is not forced. It emerges naturally from the consistent act of moving forward. It synchronizes with the natural cycles of rest and reflection, supporting both creative expression and critical thinking. The intervals where action meets stillness often become the most fertile ground for new ideas and self-discovery. The importance of simply starting cannot be overstated. In every field that values creativity, be it acting, music, or visual arts, the initial leap towards doing is always the hardest, yet most rewarding part of any process. The gap between where one is and where one aspires to be is bridged not by passive longing, but by the resolute action of taking that first step. There is a sense in which doing itself becomes a form of faith, a quiet trust in the potential of the unknown. This trust in action is not about the absence of fear. Quite the contrary, there is an inherent vulnerability in taking risks and exposing your efforts to the possibility of failure. But that vulnerability, when met with persistence and a willingness to learn, turns into strength. Stories from actors who have faced the glare of the spotlight without guarantee of praise remind us that the quality of one's actions is judged not by the absence of mistakes, but by the spirit of improvement that accompanies each experience. Accepting imperfection as part of the process is a lesson that extends beyond performance. It applies to life as a whole. I am drawn to these stories because they echo a deep and shared human truth. The more we practice the simple act of doing, the more we learn to trust the path we have chosen. Trusting in our actions means accepting that not every result will be as planned. It means welcoming the unexpected twists and turns as part of the route toward improvement and self-discovery. In truth, each result, whether it is what we hoped for or a deviation from the plan, carries its own inherent value. It becomes a stepping stone towards greater personal strength. At the core of everything we face is the decision to act. Decisions, however small, ripple outward in ways we often never imagined. The mind can sometimes become cluttered if it focuses too much on what might go wrong, or what is imperfect. Instead, by turning our attention to the immediate act of doing, we free ourselves from the constraints that keep us from progressing. There is a sense of liberation in allowing our actions to speak for us, a liberation that applies to creative expression and personal achievement alike. A running theme through all these examples is that doing, no matter how small the act, creates a window of opportunity for growth. When you allow that window to open, you invite in fresh perspectives and unexpected outcomes. You begin to see that the journey is not defined solely by the destination, but by the active moments that fill the spaces in between. These moments, filled with authentic doing and honest reflection, piece together a larger picture of who we are and what we can achieve. This understanding is the heart of the narrative. It is not about heroic feats or superhuman breakthroughs. It is about the simple, everyday actions that create ripples far beyond their immediate sphere. When you choose to act, when you choose to start, you are aligning with a principle that has quietly underpinned achievements in art, acting, music, and countless other fields. This principle reassures you that accomplishments do not always need to be grand in scale. Sometimes the small, deliberate actions you take are the ones that shape your journey in the most meaningful ways. I invite you to consider the moments when you took action despite hesitation. Perhaps there was a time when you decided to try something new, a hobby, conversations, or a creative project, and found that the process was as rewarding as the outcome. These experiences may seem minor, but they form the core foundation of a fulfilling path. They remind you that each step taken is a testament to your willingness to grow and learn. This opening reflection sets the stage for what follows in the coming pages. It is a call to notice the quiet power of your own actions, a reminder that every small effort can accumulate into something greater than you ever imagined. In art, in acting, and in life, doing is the act that turns dreams into achievements. It is the underlying current that enables transformation, slowly building momentum until it becomes impossible to ignore.